Thank you. I really appreciate it so much, Tufik, that you invited me and that IDC is here today on the Hill. It's so important that you bring your voices, the voices of the people back home and in the region, to the United States Capitol. There are over 10,000 Middle Eastern Christians living in Cook County, Illinois alone, which is more than 10% of the Middle Eastern Christian community in the United States. And I have to say, a lot of them, a lot of you, who's from Illinois? Are from my district, one of the most diverse districts in the country, which includes a vibrant and active Assyrian community that I've been very proud to be close with, and I am proud to advocate on their behalf, on your behalf. My staff and I have done a lot of casework to bring families together, to keep families together, to help bring relatives to safety. And I just want to say, as a Jew, a minority with a long history of persecution ourselves, this is very personal to me. I hear many stories from my constituents about their friends and families who are living in Iraq and Syria, stories about families forced to flee their homes, about mothers and fathers who have watched their children die in their arms, about churches and homes that have been attacked and gutted. Of course, the Middle East is the birthplace of Christianity, and these communities, your communities, have been the bedrock of the Christian community since it began 2 millennia ago. Assyrians living in the Nineveh Plain and surrounding regions have been there for thousands of years. It's precious to your community because it's not only your homeland for many of you, it's central to your faith. And that's why I am proud at all times to stand with religious and ethnic minority groups in the Middle East, particularly in light of the ongoing and barbaric attacks by the Islamic State, which has basically said, convert or die, and die in the most vicious ways. No one should have to live their lives in such fear. And with this threat of ISIS, religious and ethnic minorities in the Middle East, that's why you're here, are under constant threat of violence. Many have been displaced from their homes. Today, I am proud to report that I am now an original co-sponsor of legislation introduced today by my colleague, Republican Richard Hanna. This resolution reaffirms our support for the Lebanese government and their efforts to support the millions of Syrian refugees that have fled their homes amid horrific violence. Lebanon today has over a million refugees now that they've taken in and need help. I successfully worked with the House Appropriations Committee to include report language for the state and foreign operations appropriations, directing the State Department to help protect religious and ethnic minorities in the region, such as Assyrian, Chaldean, Syriac people, Yazidis, and others. And that includes support for indigenous security forces to combat the ISIS threat. I also successfully pushed for language to help repatriate religious and ethnic minorities in the region and remove unexploded explosive devices to make it safer to move around. Christians are about 10% of the population in Syria and Iraq, and of course that number is shrinking dramatically because of the ongoing violence. I co-sponsored House HCON Resolution 75, which condemns the genocide being perpetrated against Christians, Assyrians, and other minority groups by ISIS in the Mideast. And let's not mince words. What is happening in Syria and the rest of the Middle East is genocide against religious minorities. And we do have to take action to stop this tragedy. HCON resolution passed the House in March, and I urge my colleagues in the Senate to pass it as well. It hasn't happened yet, so if you're moving on to the Senate to talk to senators, make sure you get their support. I look forward to working further with IDC to ensure that we recognize and address the threats that are faced by religious minorities in the Middle East. I just want to say I'm a bit disappointed that the partisan politics were brought into this. I want to assure you that a Clinton administration is very concerned about minorities here and abroad, and that administration, with many of us in the Congress helping and participating, will definitely raise your concerns, hear them, and act on them as well. I will certainly be a part of the advocacy work to make sure that that happens. And thank you very much.